Hello, and welcome to a extremely historic day, a day that I never ever thought would come. The first album by Godspeed You Black Emperor, the legendary post-rock band, has surfaced on the internet, and we're going to listen to it. I'll try to keep this preamble brief because this will be a long journey. But essentially, I started listening to this band when I was 14 or 15, and it absolutely blew my mind. They represented this apocalyptic but anarchistic uh, place of both hope and dread and beauty and terror that, in my kind of first blossoming political mind, represented something so advanced and yet so deep within myself that I felt I had been waiting for this moment my whole life. And if you look at my top albums of 2021 list, we talk about a Godspeed You Black Emperor album, and I really kind of get into what this music meant to me and what it means to me now. And now it's an even more auspicious occasion because I'm in Montreal, which is where the band originated. And I can remember as a kid listening to this and Arcade Fire a lot, and having this almost fantastical vision of Montreal as the place that originated both of these hugely influential bands. And being here now, it's not that inaccurate. I kind of still feel that vibe somewhere deep. So I feel incredibly blessed to be listening to this album on this occasion. So the history here is that they grew into prominence with the release of their second album, F Sharp, A Sharp, Infinity, and that also brought their record label, Constellation Records, to prominence in a lot of related side projects and stuff, like Fly Pan Am. And there was always a catalog page on Constellation Records that showed their first release, which is the lovely titled All Lights Fucked on the Hairy Amp Drooling. Not really sure what to make of that. It is, of course, alternative rock. It's almost 30 years old now. There was only 33 copies produced. Constellation Records themselves said, we don't have a copy anymore. They were just kind of scattered into the wind. Ephraim Manuel Minock, who is like the principal leader of Godspeed You Black Emperor, one of the most consistent band members, and the closest thing they have to like a frontman, has said, I'm surprised it hasn't shown up online yet, but you're not going to get it from me. I don't even have a copy. There was one instance where someone on Reddit said, hey, I found this and apparently it's a big deal. I just got it in some random music shop, and seemed to actually own the cassette, but couldn't figure out how to rip it, and was so intimidated and overwhelmed by the response that he was getting that he just skedaddled and hasn't been heard from since, which is a great shame. And at the time I thought, okay, well, that's as close as we'll ever get. A few very shoddily recorded samples, just proof that it really exists, and now it will disappear into the night forever. But now, just recently, in the last 24 hours or so, it has appeared again, posted first on the 4chan music board, which is amazing. I used to go on that board every single day when I was first listening to this band, and for quite a long time afterwards. So that feels kind of beautiful and miraculous and symbolic as well. And I don't know, I can't picture a better circumstance to listen to this. Of course it is like a sunny day and it's noon and I'm doing this before I head out on a cheery adventure of shopping and friendship. But aside from that, aside from certain aesthetic things, this is, I think, about as good as it gets. I'm not really sure what to expect. In the aftermath of this coming out, I've seen a few people discuss how this reveals the origin of certain samples that show up on other Godspeed You tracks or Fly Pan Am tracks. Someone talked about how part of this was actually played on a Montreal radio station once without them revealing what it was or where it was from. So it's kind of like this has actually been circulating among people in the know for quite a while, and this is just the first time that it's actually appeared uh, publicly accessible to all. Um, okay, that's enough preamble. I kept it around 5 minutes. That's not bad. Let's listen to the actual album. This is crazy. Oh my god. I can't believe I'm listening to this. This is wild. This is just. This is really it. The most legendary Holy Grail. All the lights came up. What the heck? Oh my god. Yeah. Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh. That could have gone on for like 5 minutes. What? This is so sinister. Oh my god, it's seething. My god. More substantial length coming up. Did this predict Anko? Is this just Anko? Did the Animal Collective have a copy of this tape? What is... What the fuck? What? Dun, 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 dun. Oh, what the fuck? What a slapper! How are they so good at writing riffs? Holy shit. Dun, 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 dun. Oh. Oh. Slapper season. This sounds like Phil Evelyn, the Microphones man. They all just listened to this. He listened to this and that's how he made Mount Erie. The fourth track on Mount Erie sounds almost exactly like this. What the fuck? Dun, 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 dun. Huh. Dun, 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 dun. Dun, 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 dun. Oh man. Oh my god, dude, fucking slapper season. Oh, that's a certified creamer. What? 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 Oh man. What? I think I'm done. Uh, okay. I get it now. I get it now. I'll explain later, but I get it now. I know where this came from. I know what they were thinking about. This is Arcade Fire. Win Butler's gonna go, woo, in a second. No, it stopped being an Arcade Fire song. They would have cut it one more loop before this. Or they would have brought in an accordion here to start doing long chords to show that the second repetition has like a to it. Bum 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 dun 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 dun. That's good. These guys are just, they know how to play the guitar better than anyone else. It's the long and short of it. This is the sort of drumming that they would do in a later album. They would have the drums in here. Maybe they didn't even have a drummer when this came out. Ooh, that's a brain tickler right there. That's, woo, sheesh. Whoa, all right. I like that. How are they generating these noises? How does anyone generate these sorts of noises at any time? That's good. That's very good. Aww. I ride that subway now. I rode it yesterday. I'll ride it today. I'll ride it tomorrow. That's cool. It's the same subway. Same lines, same stops. I'm gonna tell. What in the world? This is just... So I think we're coming up on side B. Because I know the samples that were uploaded on Reddit were from the start of side B, and I'm pretty sure it was Dad Mom Daddy, Untitled, this zone here. Man, what a tragedy that was. But it's all the better now. This is someone who knew what they were doing, who had access to the correct scene. Woo! I love the tonal pluck of the string on the guitar. Yeah, like that. Yeah, yeah. Wow. I have to stop eating these. It's so delicious. I can't just eat candy for the entire hour-long album. That's no good. Okay, what's the last one? Push it all away from me. Yeah, I think this is the end of side A. Beautiful. Ruminating outro. Diddy for Moya. Moya. Mike Moya. What? Free meat? What? 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 Okay. Alright then. Alright. Woo! Alright, banger approaching. I don't know. For some reason, I remember being particularly fascinated by this track name when I first saw the track list, which had been known for many, many years, for decades now. Over a decade ago, I saw this track and I was like, ooh, what could that sound like? 333 frames per second. What's it gonna sound like? I can find out now. After probably 16 years. What? Holy shit, I love it already. Holy shit! No, it's not. I'm not kidding. Oh my god, I'm dying. Bum 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 dum 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 dum. Bum 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 dun 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 bum 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 Alright, this might be my favorite one. This or like Beep. Beep was really good. 333 was really good. Ha ha ha. This is so good. Holy shit. What? Yeah, this is some alternative rock right here. It's the only thing you can call that. Hmm. The fuck? This sounds like Anticon. This sounds like Yoni Wolf. That's what this is Yoni Wolf. Amy Appy poetry. Understanding Comics by Scott McCloud? What? This one? This one? Is this what they're talking about reading? Ka-chung, ka-chung. Saw my sister's friend walking around trying to get ice cream. So weird. Why is this the part that has so much gravity and so much distance after a weird, funny, sped up conversation where they talk about how to deal with anxiety? Was that like a sample? I think that was just people in the band talking. I don't even know. What does any of this mean? There'll be another 3 decades of research after this to figure out what the fuck is going on. Hairy guts shine. Hairy guts. Hairy amp drooling. What does this mean? What does any of this mean? I wonder if there's a copy of this in this city right now. There must be. I wonder if there's a copy of this somewhere that I can get to that... No. Probably not. I doubt there's any in any music store. Maybe in a radio station archive. Somewhere. Can't believe they played this on the radio and just didn't tell anyone. It's a good prank. You know, I think I have pretty good access to media. I'm on all the private trackers. And I think in terms of total amount of media I can access, I'm in the top 100th of a percentile, but there's just stuff like this. Nice poetry. What? What? Bodies in the ditch. Music's in the body. Bodies in the ditch. Alright. Okay. Alright, this is a big one. Whoa! That's something they used in a Silverman Zion. These images. Yeah. Wow! But then it became 13 angels. Where'd that latticed angel go? Fuck this song. All angels gone. What's it mean, bro? What does this mean? What does this mean, though? I don't know. What the heck? What this means? Bro, what the, ooh, a new phase? This is a nice low tone. We got some backwards chords, tape running in reverse. Backwards snare. One more zone. Alright, we're approaching the end. This is the final 5 tracks. And most of them are quite short. Surprised there's not 33 tracks, you know? 33 editions, 333, 333 frames per second. What does it mean? This one's really genuinely haunting. Yeah. Okay. This is just Burzum. Ha 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 ha. Oh man. Better burn the church down. The devil's in the church. Better. It's such good logic. Who is this person? Ooh, this one. Ooh, yeah, yeah, yeah. Alright, we're coming up on the final track about pink perfumed corpses from the lips of Celine Dion. The hell? What? What was that last? Burned out outside. This is it. This is how it ends. Just fucking rocking out. Burned out at 17. Woo! Alright, that's it. Let me note what time it is for time stamping the video. 1:14. Okay. So I have a lot of thoughts. Let's first talk about the music itself, I guess, and then maybe we'll talk a little bit about, you know, what this album means and what it means for it to be the way it is. I said many times while we were listening to it, oh, this sounds like blank. Oh, this reminds me of blank. Oh, this is... and I kept saying, oh, these bands must have had a copy of this because, you know, it came out before all of these albums it reminded me of. It reminded me of Animal Collective at parts. It reminded me of Arcade Fire, that kind of jaunty indie rock. It reminded me of Yoni Wolf and Y and Anticon projects quite a lot at random parts, some of the voices they were using. But what it reminded me most of actually is the Swans album, Soundtracks for the Blind. And while I was listening to this, I actually thought Soundtracks for the Blind came out before this. But it's similar in a lot of ways, that they have this strange like sound collage, lots of small tracks, lots of small experiments, broken up with some longer things. Soundtracks for the Blind is very, very long. Yeah, it's over 2 hours. At any rate, one thing that it had in common with Soundtracks of the Blind that made me think for sure GYB had listened to it was this presence of what I would call like dumb gothic, and it kind of reminds me of like Faulkner, the idea of like focalizing and really empathizing with a character who is sort of at a loss and trapped and a victim of society and like a very tragic character, and this isn't like despite or because of their lack of intelligence, but their lack of intelligence kind of prevents them from kind of forming a coherent worldview around their dumbness. And yet, you know, it's no less tragic, and it's no less, you know, a victim of societal forces. And that really came through in a lot of these tracks, and I realized that this was actually kind of a common theme in all Godspeed You Black Emperor stuff, that you would often look at a crazy person, a homeless person, a nostalgic old person, people who are kind of bearing this helpless witness to changes that they can't comprehend. And when I say dumb, I don't necessarily mean like low intelligence, but just sort of like an absence of the realization of the critical thought that would bring them like in line with not even a solution, because a solution is impossible, but an understanding of, you know, who the perpetrators really are. I think in general, this album had a sense of themes that would emerge in other Godspeed You Black Emperor albums being like really focalized as if it was like the band experiencing them, rather than the band kind of as this omniscient entity observing these things. And this was something that they started doing again on a Silver Mount Zion, which was their project that had a subset of the members, and it also involved Ephraim singing and stuff. And he would again sing from the perspective of these really downtrodden characters, or just really singing personal stories from his personal life. But here it feels a little more like helpless, I guess. It's sort of like these poor innocent rubes versus later albums. There's much more of like an empowerment or like a distance, that the helpless people are now separated from them, and they've seized some revolutionary potential in themselves, and that's why the lyrics get a lot angrier at times. This album was also very surprisingly silly for a band that is so cloaked in mystery and notoriety for being so self-serious, so distant, sitting on the stage in a circle and not acknowledging the audience, not really giving press releases outside of their apocalyptic fervor. And yet this album had like jokes and kind of humorous juxtapositions and the quirky little sped up stuff and weird little sound tricks that I can only parse as, you know, making you laugh. So it's really disarming to hear these same people that gave us such awe-inspiring visions of the apocalypse just kind of joking around and riffing and stuff. But none of this, I think, undermines what came later. I think it's just it's a glimpse behind the curtain to maybe how they are really all the time, including now. Like, there's no way that they're actually that grim and self-serious in their day-to-day life. Nobody could be. But instead, you know, that this is the face of the music that they want to present requires like a certain character and a certain gravity. But it's worth remembering, you know, as intimidating as the name sounds, they named it after a Japanese motorcycle gang movie. Which my understanding, no, maybe I don't understand. I thought that this was kind of like a silly movie. I thought this was kind of like an over-the-top action movie, but apparently it's a documentary. I should watch this at some point, you know, as a fan of the band. Himamatsuri? Hinamatsuri? Himamatsuri. Hima. Huh. Interesting. Anyways, yeah, so it's like unclear, you know, how serious this band ever intended to take themselves. Debut album. Not anymore. Oh, I lost my train of thought. The most powerful tracks were, of course, the ones that really were reminiscent of their later work, where it seems like they had just captured a segment of a longer jam session that they really, really liked. And then there was, you know, their unmatched power of just making insane riffs and these beautiful driving melodies that just make you weep. Of course, in later albums, they would build these up into 20-minute long opuses where these sections come in and out like waves. Here we just get, you know, little excerpts of the peaks of those waves. And again, equivalent to later when they use these quite haunting interviews of homeless people and just sort of like a signal from the streets and from the downtrodden in many ways, and just building this sort of aesthetic world. Here they kind of provide their own such things through poetry and through lyricism and through these weird recollections of conversations about reducing anxiety when smoking weed and stuff. So it's almost like they decided to universalize their message a little more by reaching for those same messages but from outside themselves, which is a really compelling kind of shift in thought. And then also, yeah, like instead of just giving you an excerpt of these jam sessions, to actually orchestrate the entire thing and build the whole thing up through 20 minutes or more. Amazing. Amazing, amazing, amazing. So yeah, at the time, they did not have the string section, the drums, the various synthesizers that they worked with later, but there was still a lot of like really interesting sonic choices, a lot of experimentation. No mention on the Wikipedia page that the first album has actually appeared. There's a Wikipedia page about this. Yeah, not to be lost forever. I'm pretty convinced. If this is a fake, you got me. My mind would be absolutely blown. I don't think there's any way at all they could have faked this. It's so clearly Ephraim singing in so many points. The idea of like making an album like this, the choices they made are so like it's it's kind of like the criterion of embarrassment. And I wonder, you know, there are things on here that you could say are kind of embarrassing. Just because they are a little silly and they seem to detract from the gravity of the band, such that you might be forgiven for thinking that there's a conspiracy, a cabal of people that actually had access to this, but thought for the sake of the band, it's better to have it unreleased and have this gravity and this mystique and this speculation than for people to hear Ephraim chatting with his friend about how he was getting ice cream and ran into his friend's sister, or his sister's friend. But the band itself obviously doesn't care. They would not ever be perturbed by the idea that this could like impact how people perceive them or anything. They don't care how they're perceived. Yeah, it's interesting whenever there's these legendary early recordings, demos and stuff that a band that ends up being very popular puts out. There's always kind of like a cult-like rush, an obsession, all this research, trying to track down copies, trying to track down snippets and samples and stuff. And you gotta think, like, this is inherently a double-edged sword, because what if it's bad? Like, don't you kind of expect it to be bad? Don't you almost hope that it's bad because that indicates that the band is progressing? And I remember, you know, kind of almost being worried about this when I was reading about these sorts of lost albums at first. But on the other hand, it's like, okay, imagine you're a big Animal Collective fan, but in this universe, Animal Collective's first album, Spirit They've Gone, Spirit They've Vanished, has never surfaced. Which isn't that unlikely because that album came out when they were pretty young, and it was very limited in its first release, and it was only because it got reissued later that it actually has a widespread audience. But like, that album is so weird and so experimental and so much harsher and less accessible than anything else they've done. It's like the perfect example, I think, of this early work being kind of obsoleted in some way, perhaps in the band's eyes, that they became so much more in control of what they wanted to do and able to bring their sound to a much wider audience with much more like professionalism, I guess you would say. And yet that early album is perhaps my favorite Animal Collective album, and it's many people's favorite because it is so weird and so raw, and you get some kind of like hidden magic that they almost unintentionally exposed so early on. And I think that's the appeal that draws people to these unreleased early albums. And it's certainly something that's all over the place in this one. Like, this is... Their music is always pretty harsh and inaccessible, but this is probably an extreme. And it really has that kind of like raw energy that hasn't been refined, hasn't been contextualized with the idea that a lot of people are going to be listening to this. They planned for 33 tapes, you know, they didn't think this would go very far. I think now we must turn our attention to the new Holy Grail, which is the early Boards of Canada stuff. Yes. See, this sort of stuff. We still have the ability to reach back and try to get Catalog 3 with its amazing track titles like Visual Drone 12. This is where our efforts should lie now. You might say it's impossible. You might say we'll never hear these things. But we eventually got All Lights Fucked on the Harry Amp Drooling. Anything is possible now. And this has only redoubled my belief, my nonsense hidden belief that these are these are going to be something really, really special, because this was certainly something very, very special. You know, it's not their best work, of course. It has nothing on the grandeur and scope and depth of despair that comes out in their later albums. And it hasn't the ambition, it doesn't have the purpose, the intent. Stuff like F sharp, A sharp, the mighty double disc, lift your skinny fists like antennas to heaven, and perhaps my favorite project out of the entire collective, Horses in the Sky from the Silver Mount Zion. Whew, this album, sheesh. But it is something really special, and I feel so blessed to have heard it under such auspicious occasions so long after I had abandoned all hope of it ever materializing. It really feels like anything is possible now. Alright, I think that's all I have to say. Go check it out. You'll probably not like it. Bye!